Hi, Ben Simon from Media Brighton TV, and today I'm going to be talking about the Blurred Lines Marvin Gaye comparison copyright lawsuit. I'm going to be looking at deconstructing some of the parts that are in question, and I've got a very special guest, so stay tuned. Okay, so you've probably heard on the news this whole stuff about Pharrell and Robin Thicke getting sued for 7.4 million, I think it is, for their song Blurred Lines being the same as a Marvin Gaye tune. So in this video, I just want to look at some of the facts and deconstruct some of the parts. So let's jump straight into it. In the eyes of the law, the song is made up of the vocal melody, the lyrics, and the chord progression, and everything else around that is arrangement. So the drums, the guitars, and all that sort of stuff is arrangement. Now, if you look at the songs, side by side, and you listen to them, the backing tracks actually sound quite similar. But just because they sound similar doesn't mean that they're the same. Got to Give It Up is 122 beats per minute. Blurred Lines are 120 beats per minute, so very similar in tempo. The vocal melodies are completely different, and then you've got the chord progressions, they're completely different. Their songs are even in completely different keys. Some similarities, you've got this syncopated cowbell, which is in both of them, and the funky bass line that's played on an electric piano in both of them. These are some of the allegations that were said. So Thicke and company not only copied Gaye's distinct bass line ... Okay, so here's a couple of images. The top one is Marvin Gaye's bass line, and the bottom one is the Blurred Lines bass line. And as you can see, if you look at them, they are very different. I mean, even if the feel feels similar, they are musically different. You can see that the Marvin Gaye one is quite intricate. It's also quite flowing. It changes a lot. Whereas the Robin Thicke and Pharrell tune is much more of a loop, and it's kind of much more consistent. The notes are different. These have actually been transposed into the same key. I'd like to add that a very nice gentleman, Joe Bennett, who I've never met, did a brilliant blog post, which I'm going to link to below this particular piece, and I would urge you to go and read his post. It was very, very interesting. One of the inspirations behind me actually doing this piece, and he allowed me to use these assets, these sheet music sort of assets within my video, so that's great. The other quote that was Thicke has copied the defining funk of the cowbell accents. So here we go. Here's the cowbell. The top one is the cowbell from the Marvin Gaye tune, and the bottom two are the cowbell parts that make up the part for the Pharrell and Robin Thicke tune. And as you can see, they are different. With the Robin Thicke and Pharrell tune, you've got two cowbells, one that's panned left and one that's panned right, and they essentially make up one part. But you can see it's much more intricate, and at the end of the day, it is different. So that's my take on the Blurred Lines Marvin Gaye comparison copyright lawsuit. So I've got a very special interview with a friend of mine, so we're going to cut to that now. This is my friend Tim Rushen. You're a songwriter and producer and a music entrepreneur. You run an online music library, right?
That's right, yeah, the Funky Junkies, and we basically write music for whoever needs music, films, TVs, television adverts, anything. My father was a really big Marvin Gaye fan, and my mother played the original track in the car all the time. And so when Blurred Lines came out, I never made any connection whatsoever. I felt that it was musically very different. The vibe was there, great track, great groove, but for me there was no connection between the two tracks at all. The groove is very similar and uses similar elements. Yeah. So the cowbell and the general swing to the track, those two things are very similar. But you can't copyright grooves. I mean, grooves have existed since men started banging drums as cavemen, So I think from that point of view, if you take that element away and listen to just the top lines, there's different chord structure, there's different melody, definitely in the vocals a completely different melody. And it obviously does take the vibe, but, copyright law is there to protect people blatantly ripping off a melody or a chord structure, which I don't think it does at all.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I should imagine, and they've said that they're going to contest it, and we'll see what happens with that. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, that it gets upheld and the lawsuit stays. What do you think the impact's going to be on the industry? Do you think there's going to be a whole flood of other people then suing each other for, songs with the same vibe?
It depends how successful they are. It depends how much money is involved in the track that has apparently ripped off another track. If we were going down this line with just tracks that had made a mid-range amount of money, I don't think these sort of lawsuits would come along. Lawyers will always say, settle out of court, because if you go to court, you're going to be spending a lot of money. So, the Gaye estate has spent a lot of money to get this far. And if they hadn't have had that money, because the track wasn't worth that money as well, I don't think we would have seen them. And if it does start with mid-range tracks, then we're all in trouble. I
mean, I actually think that there's a slight irony in this, in the sense that it's called Blurred Lines, and it's kind of the lines are blurred between the copyright law.
It goes on a lot more than you realise. I mean, they never get to court and they never get into the press. So this happens on a daily basis. Absolutely. Blurred Lines is exactly like you say. It's unfortunate, but it's, musically, the two tracks are different. The easiest thing to have separated them is for Pharrell not to have used a similar organ sound, not to have the cowbell in it. You take those two elements away and actually, or replace them with something else, and actually, I don't think it would have got this far. Music copyright is based on music and not groove or vibe. And if you look at the music, it's completely different.
So anyway, I'd love to hear your comments. So leave a comment for me below. If you like the video, obviously give us a thumbs up, a like, and share it with anyone that you think would find it interesting. So obviously it's a controversial topic, so I'd love to hear your comments. Till next time, this is Ben Simon for Media Brighton TV signing off. Thanks for watching.